Hi friends, I'm Christy. Thanks for joining me for another episode. I was recently reading this book called Mindset, and it is amazing. I've gotten so many wonderful morsels out of this book, and the author's just absolutely incredible. It was actually one of those books that I could only read a couple pages at a time, and I had to put down because there was just so much to absorb and to process. It's literally taken me months to get through this book, but it has been really life-changing and so impactful in my life. And one of the parts that I'm reading about right now is how to break the habit of what we say that we're going to do and then not actually do. So I wanted to share this with you because it was a huge takeaway for me, and I realized that a lot of people are mismanaging money, right? I am a victim of it myself. I think we all could improve upon what we do with our take-home pay, with our earnings, our investments, our savings, and just how to make the most of it. So wanted to share a couple of tips with you that I got out of this video now. So there are plans that you will carry out, and there are plans that will never come to fruition. So especially if it's something that you don't want to do, you don't like to do, you don't enjoy doing it, and it just has to be done, you will probably find yourself putting it off until the very last moment. Procrastination is in full swing if you don't want to do something. But if it's something major and you have to do it, vowing to do it doesn't necessarily mean that it will come to fruition for you in your life. So if you just say, I'll get to it tomorrow, I'll get to it tomorrow, there is a lifetime worth of promises that I've made that I'll get to it tomorrow. And guess what happens? I never get to it. And it's something that's either been put back on the back burner and becomes such a larger issue later because I put it off into the very last minute and it's compiled into all of this other stuff. Or I have to do it at a time that is even more inconvenient and causes more stress in my life. And then I have to stop doing something that is really important right now to be able to do this one thing that I kept putting off. So let's talk about that. In order to create a plan that you'll actually follow through with and stop mismanaging, you have to create a very vivid written plan. So you've got to grab a pen and a piece of paper or get on your iPad or whatever it is that is your mind seeing and your hands either typing or writing. You've got to put it pen to paper. So this very vivid, concrete plan has to answer some really important questions. How, when, where, why, right? You've got to know your why. So if it's just something that has to be done, when are you going to do it? So don't just say, I'm going to do it tomorrow. That's not a vivid, concrete plan. So here might be a better example, and this is similar to what the author had put in her book. Tomorrow, on my lunch break, I'm going to make a cup of hot tea. I'm going to go into my office, sit down, close the door, and I'm going to make that call. So you can see how it's a very vivid and concrete plan. I could envision myself actually following through with those steps. So a simple example, right? But if you are mismanaging your money and it is costing you dearly, you've got to create a written plan. For you, that might look like a budget. So you've got to follow a household budget. And if you're not doing that, there are some very simple ones online that are available. I've got a really great one in my program called the Prosperity Guide Map that you can follow. And I would love to be able to share that with you as well. So start following a budget. And here's the thing, you guys, a budget should and could change all the time. Our expenses are different throughout the year. And so things come up in our lives. Sometimes they're expected, sometimes they're unexpected, either seasonal, like around the holidays, cost you more money in gift giving, or what if these pups here got in a fight and I wound up taking them to the emergency vet a little bit later today. Then what do? You got this extra expense and it wasn't really budgeted for. So hopefully you get to a point where in your budget you've got something called unexpected costs, right? So mismanagement, you've got to understand that a child is running the financial show. What do I mean by that? We made decisions about money when we were very young, and we've actually just kind of been living into that way of being our whole lives. And a lot of times people laugh when they hear me say this for the first time, but a child, a 4-year-old, is running your financial show. So let that sink in for a moment. If you haven't heard that from me before, I hope you chuckle a little bit, but I hope you come to the realization that, oh wow, that might very well be true. So we've learned lessons from our parents, what they had demonstrated and talked about or didn't talk about, or what they fought about, or what was just your realization with money. Your upbringing has everything to do with your money personalities and how you show up these days as an adult. So if you find yourself mismanaging money because nobody's ever taught you, it's not your fault. Unfortunately, schools didn't do a good job teaching us Finance 101, and most of us didn't have financial mentors. So if you're not into reading books and you didn't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that really helped demonstrate a whole lot of things. I want to encourage you, even if you could just listen to an overview on a YouTube video or something along those lines, so you can get some of those big, impactful lessons that I got to learn along the way too. But first and foremost, I need for you to understand a kid has been running the financial show. So now that we know this, how do we uncover an opportunity to stop mismanaging our money? Once we start following that budget, or at least just look at the budget, you don't even have to follow it yet. I want you to see what your take-home income pay looks like, and then what your outflow looks like. And there's a really good chance that what goes out of your bank account exceeds what comes in. And that is where we wind up with trillions of dollars in debt and credit card debt and personal loans and high interest loans. As Americans, we've got literally trillions of dollars out there that's owed to us. So what happens if the credit faucet was turned off tomorrow? What if you couldn't go get a new credit card or a personal loan? What if your credit cards were just stopped? What if Capital One day just said, hey, no more loaning you money, you can pay this down, but you can't use your credit cards anymore? I don't know what a lot of people would do. So we've really got to start shifting this situation, or we could find ourselves in a world of hurt. The average American winds up spending $280,000 in finance charges over their lifetime. You guys, that's $280,000 in interest. That's not for stuff. That's not tangible things that we could have. That's the cost of borrowing to have those things. So if we could get into a place where we better manage our money, we don't have to borrow as much, which means we reduce that amount that we're paying in finance charges, and that could be money in your pocket that you can invest and you can play with and you can enjoy over your lifetime with your family. So when will you follow up with your plan? If you have some written ideas on what you would like to get executed in your life, right? You want to stop using your credit cards, which means you've got to have more cash flow in your bank account so you can stop using those credit cards. If you want to get to a place where you're saving 10% or 20% of your income, you've got to follow a budget. So now that you've got that budget, now that you've got your plan of this is when I'm going to, right? In order to carry out your plans, this is when I'm going to make that phone call. This is when I'm going to cut back my cable bill. This is when I'm going to shop for new homeowners insurance or auto insurance. You guys, it's not fun, and that's why we put it off. We are so busy being busy. I can't imagine throwing one more thing on my schedule in my life. It's exhausting to think about it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are overpaying for a lot of things because they haven't taken those few moments to take care of you. This is self-care for you financially. So again, write down what it is that you're going to do, when it is that you're going to do it. And I hope that you really know your why. Your why isn't so I can get out of debt. There's nothing exciting or motivating or inspiring about that. If you can't be inspired by that, it's not going to drive you to your end result. You're going to just kind of give up on that. It doesn't do anything for you. So in order to feel inspired, what is the money mismanagement causing in your life? What kind of stress is it creating? What kind of havoc? Is it creating fights with the most important people in your life? Is it creating health issues because it's stressing you out? I know for me, when I get stressed, I don't sleep well. I'm up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and if I don't sleep well, I'm not a nice person the next day. And then I don't get as much done. I don't get to go forward in my very, very best high energy level, the way that I want to show up in my life. And I'm just kind of dragging butt through the day. And it shows up not only in not getting enough accomplished, but how I relate to other people. I don't show up the way that I want to, and really be able to give all that I have to give because I'm exhausted. And a lot of times that winds up being the result of stress because of money. So what else can you look at here to be able to get inspired by your why? If you have a new goal of, I want to retire when I'm 55, why? So you guys, my mom worked until late into her 70s, and it wasn't by choice. It was because she was raising 5 kids for all of us to move on well out of her life, and she did an amazing job with all of us. But we were raised a certain way, and she didn't have a pension. She didn't set up a retirement account. She was too busy making sure that we had a roof over our heads and food in our bellies, and she had to work until late in her 70s. It wasn't a want, and it was a really physically demanding job that she was in as well. And it really took a toll on her body. And so while I was in my 30s, I said, I don't want to work until I'm in my 70s. But it wasn't just, I don't want to work until I'm in my 70s. The why behind it is I saw my mom's body tired, and work ages us, right? It kind of expedites that aging process if it's a physically taxing job. And for her situation, it was. And so I don't want that for myself. I want to be able to travel before my body gives out on me or my mind is no longer with me. I want to be able to spoil my family. I want to be able to create memories and experiences and not say, well, I can't have a big birthday party for them or a huge glamorous anniversary party for them because I don't have the funds to do so. I don't want money to be in my way. And so when I think about what money buys, those experiences and those memories that are created and those moments in my life that will bring me so much joy, that's my why. So find out your why too. So if it's not, health related or stress induced, or you want to stop fighting over money, if it's something that motivates you in a different direction, make sure that you really know the why and uncover the why. Go deep with the why so that it can hit right here, right? When it hits your heart, it will help keep you inspired. And then the next question is, where will you do it? So where will you start changing this mismanagement, okay? You're gonna have to make some changes in your life. So it's going to be mental, it's gonna be physical, like where your money is going. It's going to have a lot to do with your relationships. Maybe somebody's constantly borrowing money from you. And if you wind up being that caretaker personality where your kids are relying on you and you're paying for school and you're paying for, your adult son missed his car payment and you want to make sure that his credit keeps restored. But this is a constant conversation with that same person in your life. You're going to maybe have to set up some different kind of boundaries than where you have been before. But if there's a relationship that is physically costing you money, that probably shouldn't be if they were equipped or empowered or able to take care of themselves, how can you help them a different way instead of enabling that kind of caretaking relationship? You might not be helping them in the way that you think that you are by just putting money over there, because if it's taking away from your goals of retirement or being debt-free or having that travel fund or those kinds of things, it's costing you more than you can know. So how do you get into action? Follow your written plan. If it's written, you have a far better chance than it just being all up here. Also, if you create an accountability plan, I've mentioned it before in another video, create a personal board of directors. If there are people who you admire, that you consider a mentor, that you have learned from in the past, or you would like to have the kinds of things that they've created in their own lives, what if you went to them and said, I think of you as a mentor, I admire you wildly, and I would love it if you could be my personal board of directors. I have these goals, and I'd like to fill in the blank, share it with them, kind of like an accountability partner, and let them know that you would like for them to hold you accountable. And maybe they can give you some suggestions, some guidance, some ideas along the way. It takes a team effort to show up successfully in life, in business, in partnership, everywhere around you. Most of us can't do it alone. And so I want to encourage you to bring in some people that can help you along that journey, that can encourage you, but also keep you focused on your end goal. Because there are a lot of distractions in life, you guys, right? And we can kind of get bumped off that road and find ourselves in a detour. And it's not exactly where we want it to be or even where we want it to end up. But how do we get back onto our goal, onto that path to get us to our goal? And be careful with the words that you say as well as you're creating these plans that you will be able to see through. Words have power. So if you say, well, I've got to start all the way back here, you're actually lying to yourself. You're not starting at the beginning, you're starting from where you're at now, which is lots of steps forward because you've learned some lessons along the way, right? Sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. So now that you have these lessons, how can that help you in moving forward? You don't have to go all the way back to start and start all over. This isn't Monopoly where you have to go all the way back to the beginning. You might go back a couple of steps, but don't say, well, I've got to start all over. It's not all over. You've learned something out of this experience. You've grown. Maybe you got a new relationship out of what you were looking to have happen. Maybe you got a little bit of savings, but you're not quite there. Maybe you got some of your debts paid off, but you're not quite there. But following your written plan will get you there. Following a budget and implementing these changes to get out of just kind of winging it, which is where most people are. You get your paycheck, you've got these bills, you pay it, and you hope that there's enough until your next paycheck. That's kind of a scary way of being, because if there's one little hiccup, one little something that happens, one emergency vet visit, it could really knock you off course. So following a written budget is going to be your number one way of getting into fulfillment of money mismanagement corrections, and also having an actual tangible vivid, concrete plan on when you're going to do something is going to create so much more success and in implementing your goals and saying, I'll do that tomorrow. Because I don't know about you, my tomorrow is stuffed full, and putting one more thing in there just sounds like something that probably won't happen. Best laid plans, right? The intention is there, but the actions may not show up because I didn't create a vivid, concrete, I'm going to close my office door and have a cup of hot tea, and I'm going to make that phone call on my break. That's a vivid plan. I know exactly when that's happening, and I'm prepared for it because I had stated that that's what I was going to do. So hope this brings you value. I'm so glad that you had joined me in this video. If you are looking for information specific to improving your credit or just getting to know more about credit scores and the impact it has on our finances, I invite you to listen to my podcast, Credit Coaching by Christy, and I'd love to be with you there. Until next time, my friends, stay well.